was very excited when I started talking with the BRF about a series on positive business stories about our area. And right when the idea came up, I knew exactly who I wanted to cover first. And that's my friend Matt Brown of Sportspectrum. He's ran Sportspectrum for 40-something years and has just decided to retire. So I've heard the story many times, but I wanted to share it with Shreveport. I think it's important to have these kind of stories documented to show people that owning and starting a business in Shreveport can be very successful.
So you're a kid in upstate New York. Would you have ever believed that you would have made a living running a running store in Shreveport, Louisiana?
Well, that probably wasn't on my radar. No, I don't think so.
You probably didn't even know where Shreveport, Louisiana was.
I just remember it was close to Dallas, Texas. And when I was a kid, I was always a little jealous of watching a Dallas Cowboy football game. I mean, it was always sunny, and we're sitting in January, in the middle of January, and there's 10 feet of snow on the ground. And so,
yeah.
Anyway, so I knew it was warm, and I heard there was big mosquitoes, and that's about all I knew about Shreveport, Louisiana. So.
And how old were you then?
I was 19, maybe just turning 20. So it was good. People here were wonderful. We felt at home as soon as we got here.
Cool. So then so you're running the pro shop and you're like, there's an opportunity here for another store outside of the club, basically.
Yeah, I think so. I felt like I needed something possibly to fall back on, and so that's when I decided maybe to do something a little different. Still stay here because things were great here, but just have something to fall back on when we, did move on from Paramount Oaks. So.
Cool. Were you ready to go for a run?
I think that'd be great. Yeah,
let's do it. All right, so you have the store open. You're still running the shop at Paramount Oaks, and you decide you want to do a big race. How does that work? Tell me that story.
Well, we were trying to become part of the running community as best we could, and we were involved in a lot of the races that were going on. There was a club in town called the Red River Road Runners, and there's still a very viable club here in town. They were pretty much the club that was putting on most of the races in town, and anyhow, we decided we wanted to get a little bit more involved in the running community, and so we decided to put on our first race.
Okay, so you're gonna put on a race. You've never put on a race before, and you just start figuring out. So tell me about like why Firecracker, because Firecracker became such a pivotal part of Shreveport history to me and culture.
Basically, a bunch of my running buddies, we were just kind of sitting around one evening having a beer and trying to figure out what we were going to do on July 4th, and we said, well, let's just put a little run together. And so that was kind of the start of Firecracker. We just kind of put it out there to the community. We had probably about 50 people that showed up at the first race, and
so you did like the whole thing though for a first race. Like you made a course.
We
like you had a post party, like the whole deal.
The whole deal, yeah. It was a little smaller than
what I'm thinking of now.
I think we had a box of bananas, and I'm not so sure. I think we did have a T-shirt. The entry fee was $1. And
we gotta find that original shirt.
Yeah, I do have it. Anyways, one of my employees actually came up with the design for the shirt, and anyhow, it was a great success for those 50 people that showed up.
Yeah.
We started the race off with a bottle rocket, which just about caught the Spring Lake Point apartments on fire. It was a very dry summer, must have been, and we had to go put out a little fire before the race started. So.
I love that Firecracker was your first race and became such the cultural race of the area for so many years, the biggest race. How long did it take you from doing that first Firecracker to start looking at other races?
Well, we thought that was pretty cool, so we decided we wanted to have a race in the spring. and we called it the Classic Road Race. And then that fall, we did another race called Autumn Breeze, which will be 40 years old this coming year, I think.
So once you got rolling, you were doing races now.
Once we got rolling, we were doing races. And
so Autumn Breeze came up, then Turkey Trot right after that?
Turkey Trot came up a few years after that. And then the Downtown Christmas Run started out as a Jingle Bell Run.
Yeah, I remember being called that.
Yeah, and
people still call it. John Pickens still calls it the Jingle Bell Run.
Anyhow, so that's how that happened. And I think out of all the races that I produce, I think the only one that really kind of faltered and is still not running today after 35 years is the Classic Road Race, the spring race we did. So
okay, so then the other race that I love to talk about is River Cities. So when did River Cities come up, and how did you get into that? That seems like such a bigger production.
Yeah, so this year would have been the 42nd anniversary of River Cities, which is crazy. I took it over. The YMCA put it on for the first few years, and they decided that they didn't want that one anymore, that they were putting on another race called the Tin Man.
So these are real triathlons.
These are triathlons.
And this is as triathlons are kind of starting to really take off.
Just starting.
Okay.
I remember doing the first 2 River Cities, and then it was either the 3rd year or the 4th year that I took it over as race director, and 37 years later, I'm still race director. So it grew and grew and grew.
Most people don't know that Lance Armstrong won River Cities. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so in 1988, I got a phone call the night before the race from Lance Armstrong's mom. And at this point, Lance is 16 years old, and he was an up-and-coming cyclist and was dabbling with the whole triathlon scene. And anyways, she wanted me to give him a comp entry, and I said, well, we just really don't do that. We put all of our money back into the race packet and give it back. So I said, if Lance wants to come, I had no idea who Lance Armstrong was. If Lance wants to come race, come on.
You didn't know he would be one of the biggest athletes in American history.
So anyway, so he came, he raced, and he whooped up on everybody. He held the course record for, well, I think he still holds the course record for the old course. We had to change the course up. And so now there's an old and a new. But anyhow, it's really kind of cool to have somebody like that. And we've had some other great athletes come do River Cities. Dave Scott, Scott Tinley, Mark Molina, just a whole group of guys that came in and did the event.
That stuff's always cool with Firecracker and River Cities, the athletes. But my favorite part is the production. I love going out there, and the first time I saw your little shed that you sleep in, I was blown away. I was like, that's what a guy throwing an event should be doing. Coming out here and living in this little cinder block hut for 3 days.
Well, that was the triathlon, and back in the early days, that little hut wasn't there, and so I think I remember sleeping on the scaffolding, or we may have popped up a tent or something, but it was really cool. I'd have a group that helped me set up, and we'd cook some steaks the night before, and it was a pretty good.
That's the part that the average citizen doesn't get that part. At my events and at your races, I think they show up so much and they're like, oh, this is all here. And they don't know the part of you sleeping on the scaffolding and being out there for 3 days and all that takes.
Yeah, I've had that discussion with many people that I think everybody that races should at least come out and volunteer at one big event so they can really see what happens a week before, a month before, the night before, the morning of.
That's what I really love about the Sports Spectrum story. You're not even from here. You come here and you were running a business, but you were also creating a culture that didn't exist before you in a big way.
Yeah, and
that
I
was
guess,
a big part of my life growing
well,
up.
that's really cool, and I hear that from a lot of people, and that really humbles me because, you know, when you're doing it, you don't understand what you're actually creating, and I have so many people that come in my store, like yourself, who now have young families, who tell me the story about, you know, I used to love to come into your store and get my soccer cleats or get my running shoes when I was, you know,
that's what makes it awesome.
13 years old. So anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. I have people come up to me and say, like, I met my wife at Derby Day or whatever, you know. That's a different, that really makes you think of, like, or is it bigger than just a race or an event? All right, so we're about to come into where it all started. So you're doing races. Why here? Why did this work?
You know, course was always very important, and the Spring Lake subdivision is just a beautiful subdivision.
Yeah.
So anyways, we did it out here at Spring Lake for 6 years, and we just outgrew it.
You've always liked some hills.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, there are good hills in Spring Lake.
So I want you to show me like where it all started, like where the course was set up.
Okay.
Like, because I've ran through here a lot just through the years, and I always think about, man, I wonder how that really actually worked.
Well, there's a clubhouse down here, and we felt like that would be the best place to congregate before and after. And
so are we running backwards? Would you have been coming out this way?
We are actually running the correct way, but we'd be starting.
So we'd be coming to the finish basically at this point?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, you love a uphill finish.
So a lot of these homes weren't here when we did the race, but here's the clubhouse.
Okay, cool.
This is where it all started. Hasn't changed much. Start.
Oh yeah, this is. I mean, you can kind of see that.
Yeah, start finish line was right here, and these townhouses were still here. And anyways, they ran about 1/8 of a mile and hit the first hill.
Yeah, I mean, because this coming out is legit right here, coming around this lake.
Yeah, there are a lot of hills in Spring Lake, and you know,
it's a great area to run.
Yeah, it really is.
And you just outgrew it.
Yeah, and the community was getting involved, but you know, it was still at its growing stages. A little different than, you know, South Highlands now, where you just get a huge community out there on the streets cheering people on.
How many years were you here?
We were trying to figure that out. I think it's about 6 or 7 years before we moved to Mall St. Vincent. We needed a place that could park 2,000 cars.
Right.
And it's just worked wonderfully, and Mall St. Vincent's been a great partner.
All right, well, we got a long way to run. Let's go to Portico.